Good afternoon. These are the kitchen doors. I already measured that they have to be made wider because these are too narrow. They have to become wider. So I will glue at each side. I will glue a piece of wood so that I get the required width of the door. In this case, we will add at each side 58 millimeters of wood. First thing I will do is to take apart the door. There's a piece of plywood which they mount at the back, which I don't understand because these kind of doors are meant for ventilation, and if this is for the kitchen, it's extremely important that you have a good ventilation in your kitchen block. So we will take everything apart so that we are able to plane this wood and glue something to it. A piece of wood as well. 58 millimeters. These ones are steel. They're excellent. They're very strong. I will use these instead of the original plastical ones which hold the doors in place there in the original kitchen. Never use the plastical ones, especially when the door is a little bit heavier. The risk of breaking these. Now, very carefully, these are attached simply with maybe you can see it. These are attached with. So we go in between, under it, so that you don't risk breaking them or you damage the plywood, because this plywood I can still use as bottom for drawers, which I'm going to plan to make. Everything can still be used often. Not always, but often you can reuse material. And then we remove the bottom handle. Beautiful. These are beautiful. I wouldn't be able to turn them more beautiful than this profile on my lathe. I might end up using the same ones, just giving them good sanding when I put them in a drill bit and let them turn, and with some sandpaper I will clean them, and then I might just naturally varnish them so that the wood grain is still visible. Okay, now we come to the stadium. This flat screwdriver is not wide enough. We use a big one. Like for example, this one is bigger. We need a big one. This one would be okay. And we will, because this is old glue, this door is at least 30 years old. I suspect it is from the, this is 30 years old as well. And then we put our screwdriver here and carefully twist it without damaging the wood. And at the other side we do the same. In between the joint, opening it very carefully, and it opens. The glue is that old. They used bad glue and probably didn't apply enough glue, so it comes loose very easily. Yes, I'm very lucky. Before I completely take it apart, we number which fits to what. A at the back, of course. A and B, C to C, and D to D. Like that we can always find it back. It's not really necessary as this is made with a machine. So probably everything is more or less the same measurements. I just do it just in case. And I never completely trust machines. Handwork, of course, is a little bit less accurate. Machines are mostly more accurate, but I don't believe in people who work with machines. Last time I had to make the bug screen against mosquitoes and flies, and I noticed that it was not 90 degrees the window. It was some degrees off. So we take apart all the very carefully. We put those aside, and now we have what we have to play. Most important, just a little bit of cleaning. And we won't need the short ones, we only need the long ones. Next up, scraping off the paint where we want to plane. We will plane first not the inside but the outside, and there we will glue a piece of wood. For the scraping we just will use a scraper tool, and we clamp our object in the vise. We clamp it in the vise using protective wood, not damage our wood. With the jaws of the bench vise you will damage your wood. Put some strap wood between. Then this is a scraper steel. You just put it in the bench vise when you want to sharpen it, and at a certain angle you go with the metal file over it. This should be the angle. It is sharp now, so I don't need to do it. And at a certain angle you scrape off the paint. You can also see my movie which I uploaded about how to make a scraping steel holder. I have a scraping steel holder, I can't find it now, but it works quite fine. Very effective. Can't find it. But for this little job you don't need this scraping steel holder. It's a wooden one. Okay. This one is scraped. The next one I will do later. I just want to show you how to glue the two pieces. Next step is to plane this side which we just scraped off the paint. There we need a piece of plywood which is straight. Should not be round. Should be really straight. And you can check always by eyeballing like this. It just look like this if it's straight. It should be more or less. It doesn't have to be, because the clamshell will put it down to the workbench. Then we get two clamps, trustworthy clamps. We put our desired piece of wood which you want to plane like this. It should be like this, a little bit protruding here, so that our plane can plane it. It shouldn't be like this, because then you will plane your plywood. Okay, know that the steel of your clamp should not protrude, otherwise you will damage your plane iron. Okay, next up we get a very long plane. Stanley, something similar. I find Stanley quite satisfying as a brand. There are better brands, of course. I was just lucky to find this one. We have this expression: you have to use the ores which you possess, and don't dream about the grass which is always greener at the other side. Just be happy with what you have. And I'm very, very happy. This is my jewel. This is the replacement of a big machine. It works well as long as you keep sharp your blade. And also should note we will cut after at one side, because the doors don't have to be that high. This is to adjust. You can, like that, put it deeper or less deep, and like that remove more or less wood. Always start by putting it at very rough, and then you will remove a lot of wood, and then all the time start to adjust every now and then, and put it finer and finer and finer until you only remove very little wood. Like that you have a very flat result, hopefully. That doesn't work. Put it a little bit sharper. Like this, we also obtain that what we plane will be 90 degrees. It will be 90 degrees. It's very important for gluing. Then we check it's straight. It's more or less straight. It doesn't have to become a musical instrument. It's just a piece of furniture, so it doesn't have to be super watertight. As long as it fits, more or less. Should fit, of course. Should not still show a huge gap, because then your glue joint will be very poor, and it's no good. You need a good joint. Gluing should be done well. It looks like okay. This one is okay. Now we need to make the piece of wood roughly at the width, desired width which we want. A little bit more. I always give 1 millimeter more, because we will plane it after we have glued. The glue is dry. We will glue it after. So next step is to select the piece of wood. And I already found something which could, so should be, let me see, the height of the door is 60 centimeters roughly, so make it 62. Let's see, it is more, it's okay. And the thickness should also be a little bit more, or the same thickness. This is the same thickness exactly as I see. So what we need to do now is the width should be 6 centimeters, 60 millimeters, So what we are going to do is to cut off already a piece. Always leave it longer. Always leave it longer than it should be at the end. Okay, so I can cut off here. And we cut off the axis. Okay, looks fine. Only here I see a little bit rising at the end. So we will still make sure that it will not be a critical point. So I said 60 should be, and I see that I have 7 centimeters more. Let's check that, and I see that the rise goes exactly to 7 centimeters. So that's okay. It will not be. It will be cut off. This rise, it will be cut off as well. So now we cut off this side, and then we will saw away this here, plane that, and roughly cut it to size, to the width which we want. Okay, now we will cut off. We will cut off this. We don't want that. We want to plane there, so we have to cut it off. Okay, we have to plane that side. I won't bother you anymore. You know how to plane now. I showed you which system I use. The only thing we have to do now is cut it to length. And that I use this device for. It has a wedge in which we drive in as soon as we have the desired, and it has a point here. This is just a nail which I hammered in and then removed its head and sharpened it. I sharpened it. This is a thing which I made a long time ago. It's very easy to make. It has a wedge. just varnish it a little bit. One coat is enough. Or put some linseed oil or olive oil on it as well. So we said it should be 58 millimeters, and here I see it's 60. That's okay because we're going to plane still, so that's no problem at all. Even a little bit less would be better, I think. So now we will do that. Yes, like that is much better. It's now 59. I will check several times just to be sure. Okay. I roughly will plane this, otherwise the scratching will not be done well. For this we just use a little block plane. The accurate plating I will use a bigger one. Okay, we got it. It's more or less square. Not really. No, it's not square. I think we should plane it first before I scratch it, because if this is not square, you will have a bad result when scratching. This is not square, I will show you. Maybe it's not visible, but now you can see it with a square. You see this is not square at all. So we will now plane it. And then we can scratch a line. We can scratch it with our device. Okay, this looks fine to me. I hope it is in the correct direction. Always make sure there's nothing under here. It should be clean, there where the plane goes along. Now we put it a little bit finer. And we'll check it with the other piece. There's a gap on it, and you see it starts to look good. It starts to look okay, but there's still a gap. You need to remove more material in the middle. No, there's a gap still at the end, so I won't plane at the end. I won't start at the end with the plane. It's okay now. So the last step now is to mark the width of the plank. I'll show you that it is okay, so that you believe me. As you can see, fits very well. The only thing which needs to be done now is to saw. Mark the line and saw. We marked our line. We marked our, put it at the right width. We just one time only. Don't go repeating over. Only make one time your line. Should be done well. The belly. This belly should be pressed firmly against the side. So get an accurate result. We turn it and go at the other side and we do exactly the same. This is our reference line at the back, so that we see that we are not sewing diagonally, straight down. And because this is a scratch line, it's not very visible. We mark it with a pencil. Oh, the pencil is not sharp, we have to use a sharp pencil. Guys, please don't forget to use a sharp pencil, always. Okay, and of course at the end here we should also mark it straight using both ends. I'm getting warm. Cool. Warm. Let's stop installing the wood, the excess away. So we mark our line, as you can see. And we just saw away our excess. Oh, just always check tape measure, 6 millimeters, it's okay. Just in case. Once you have started, it's too late. Check at the back if it's okay. It looks like yes. And that's all there is to it. Then we have to glue it afterwards. Nothing more. Okay, that's all there is to it. Next step, gluing. And cleaning, of course, before gluing. We just use ordinary carpenter's glue, just the white glue, polyvinyl, or I don't know what it's called. They don't put it here. And a simple brush, painting brush. This one is a little bit too big. I use it for another project where I used to apply a lot of glue, and then a big one is okay. But in this case, it's too big. You can do with just a little one, a tiny little one, not too little. And we need some paper. Why we use paper? We use this kind of paper, ribbon of paper, so that it won't glue to your bench, work surface. Okay, I apply in this case on both sides, on each kind of piece of wood. I do a last checkup if this is really what I want, and I forgot to select which the ones are which I want to be. I have to, as I said before, I have to cut up one of the ends because the door is too tall. So I will have a look which side is less nice looking. As you remember, we marked what goes where, and I see D goes with D. There's no way you can mistake here. A goes with A, and I want to see there was some imperfection which I noticed. I don't know where it was. I should have done it directly, but don't remember. This is our door without the panel. Yes, I see what is the problem. It's here, the top part. There's some damage at the top part here. Like you can see, it is here, some damage. Okay, here's the damage, and I will cut off that side in this case. Even though it doesn't really matter, no, because it won't be visible at the front side. Only the front side will be visible. So I will check for any damages. Notice damage here. This is an old door, of course. Well, in this case, with the damage here, I will cut off this side. So our height was 58 centimeters and a half, and I give it like, let's say 63 is okay. 63. We will cut off the rest after. 62 is also, well, doesn't have to be that much, it's only a waste of glue. 62. So we will cut off that excess roughly now, and the rest of the excess, because this is still too long, will be cut off after the gluing, and that after the gluing and that the door is again assembled, because then at least it will be very nice looking. Never cut it off at the exact length before you assemble the door. So we will cut off that excess, as I said. This one can still wait. We use, in this case, a very fine saw, because I don't want to risk it breaking. Okay, now we have what we wanted. Inevitable, alas, unfortunately, because it is not very nice, but it will be painted anyway, so it doesn't really matter that much. So I have a final look how it will look now, and I have to make up now which side should be visible and which side not. Now decide I will, let's see which side is better. This side is better. See, there are some damages here. I don't want those to be visible, so that will be the back side. Okay, and last thing is here it is. I leave a little bit excess at this side and at this side. At both sides, this piece, which is not the original. This is the original piece. Yes, but at both sides you have to let it a little bit longer. I just mark it here so that I know to where I should apply the glue. Do not waste glue. So I need to waste glue. So mark here in between those two lines. I will apply glue, and here. Let it soak in for like a minute or two, and like that. Like that it will soak in, and you have a tight bond. This is just like painting, same way you paint. It doesn't have to be very thick, just a slight film, enough that but it should be even everywhere, the same amount of glue. That's why your fingers can't win from a brush. The brush will spread it evenly everywhere. Okay, we let it soak in for a little while, a minute or so. And it's the same here. Very thin film. Doesn't have to be very thick. Thick will make only that your two pieces of wood will start to glide like ice, and all the excess will be squeezed out anyway. If this is water-based glue, this white glue, If it's too thick, just thin it with some warm water, preferably boiled so that the bacteria are removed and you won't have any mold in your glue. It can happen that if you use unpure water, that you get mold in your glue. You can even use distilled water just to be sure. And then mix it well and add a little at a time. If you add too much, it's too late. As simple as it sounds. Okay, I put it in the water again, my brush. It's in the water, and this one we should close directly. Now we have to hurry up. The temperatures are quite warm today, and the higher the temperature, the quicker it dries. So we have to hurry up. Okay, next up, we put our ribbon on our workbench and make sure that this comes in the middle. And this one we just put here where our lines are marked. Okay, and we make that it protrudes a little bit this way so that our clamp can have hold on it. Next step is to put two strong clamps that hold our assembly down to the bench. The bench is flat, should be flat. It should be flat. If it's not flat, don't use it. Make sure that you have a flat workspace. And then we put exactly where our glue seam is, we put a clamp. Why? So that they won't clap together when clamping those. There's a lot of tension on it and it can't clapping by this. It can't clap. We do this. This only works for small narrow pieces. Never use this method for wide pieces. Wide pieces. So if it's wide, you really will risk, and this doesn't help wide. Hopefully it's visible for you. And then we just start clamping. That's all. Not too firmly. Don't break the wood. And make sure that everywhere our glue squeezes out. That's a good sign. It means that you applied enough glue. If the glue doesn't squeeze out, you have a problem. Either you didn't apply enough glue, or you didn't put the clamp firmly enough, or not enough clamps could be as well. Or either you didn't apply enough glue, or you didn't plane wood, or not enough clamps, or not firmly enough clamped. I have to put another clamp here. It looks like it's not flat. It should be flat, guys. Please always make sure it's flat. That's all. Nothing more. Thank you for watching, and hopefully it helped you. Next step will be planing the excess of the glue away, and we will assemble the door. Thanks for watching.